God, it's been what, 2 years?
Easy two
Probably.
years.
Yeah,
Easy
about
two
two
years.
years. Yeah. Here, let me check it. I'll tag you.
I'd
See.
give for your technical know-how.
What's that?
I said what I'd give for your technical know-how.
I have none. Believe me, I have none. None at all.
I don't even have a website right now because like everything's
Dude,
down.
I don't either. I have, believe me, I totally get it. Totally. Let's see here. Here we go. All right. Tagged you. Boom. All
Boom.
right. Turn on. Okay. Here we go. All right. This is, I knew it would be something special. I thought I was going to do it by myself, but episode 47 of the new podcast, which is an 11, which I think is, important. It's April 3rd in the Southern Hemisphere, April 2nd here. I don't know what the hell's been going on. It's good to see my brother. It's good to see a true mirror who is reflecting to me the weariness, um, to a level, depletion, but also awakening, expansion, transcendence, embodiment, and a little bit of trying to figure this shit out. So it's good to see you, James Greenshields. Welcome to your show, episode 47.
Do you know I logged on at 11:11? You can't make this stuff up, brother.
Do I? You mean it was 11:11 right now?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
now it's 14 past 11 when I actually got your link and I logged on. It was 11:11.
Wow. Yeah, there's no mistakes.
No,
We can
get you.
try to figure it out, but I don't know about you, but I can't.
Dude, I'm back in kindergarten. That's what I've decided.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have kindergarten over there?
Yeah, we have it. We have it.
Good.
Um, yeah, yeah, I feel you. And at the same time, I feel some kind of awareness or knowledge or whatever
Mm,
that keeps telling me everything's all right. And my human, I was
mm,
telling Morgan last night, I was like, you know what? How would you feel if I said, I just want to leave? And here I am after 3 years and having several months with her and the whole story of that and the energy of that. And then to be there and go, I don't want to be here. I'm tired of it. I want something to change. And, you know, to her credit, she said, well, that's where you start, right? I mean, isn't that what we're all doing? I don't know. How about you in the bush and otherwise? What's been going
mm.
on with you the last couple of years?
Well, we came out of the bush and we tried suburbia. Although I don't know if you could call where we live at Brunswick Heads, right on the beach, suburbia. It's got about 1,100 people in it. Um, but it's not me. It's not me. And so we're actually we're heading back to the place where I started actually. Mum hasn't been well, and so made the big decision after so long being away, both in the military for 17 years and then 15 years after that. Always been away from my home Tungarong country, as it's called down there. Um, and the totem down there is the wedge-tailed eagle, which is called Binjil in the local tongue. And interesting enough, that's actually my totem as well. And I never knew that. And then my home regiment, Second Cavalry Regiment, the mascot of the regiment was the wedge-tailed eagle. It was all around me. I didn't see it, but we're heading back there because, yeah, I just realized my wild man gave me a bitch slap and said, "Dude, go back to the land, go back to the country. That's where you belong." So we are.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's part of the whole thing about what you were saying about I don't know. I'm in kindergarten. Uh, Being able to say, Yeah, I know the choice we made, I made, but I'm changing direction
Mm,
regardless.
mm.
Like, so do you feel called, I guess? I mean, you're feeling called to go back. Do you feel like, e- especially like, even with the mother energy,
Mm.
um, not just your mother, but the land itself, do you feel like a call there? Does it feel masculine?
It's a masculine calling that was ignited by the feminine, which is really funny because so many cultures, the rite of passage, especially here, that was done previous, the woman, the mother, would actually call for the rite of passage to be done by on the son, and then it would commence, which is really funny because like Kirsten and I have been through a massive journey in the last couple of months, dissolved our 26-year relationship, energetically divorced. And she even looked up divorcing under the court of law in Australia and realized I don't need to pay anyone to do this crap. So we did it to just did it together. I moved into my study for 4 weeks and just really got centered and realized it's no longer do I choose her, I choose myself. And then I got free. I got free for this incredible moment in time where I just got to see really clearly, and my priorities came, and she came in as a deep priority where I wish to vector my love for my intimate partner. I wish to vector it with her, and but the thing is, we knew we couldn't come back together at that same level because that needed to completely die. So even when I made the realization that was we were to come back together, like we couldn't come back on this plane. We had to come back at that plane. And it's been really interesting to see. It's like when choosing me, I'm setting the tone here, and she meets me straight away. Like straight away, she meets me. But anytime I drop the tone, all the old shit comes back. And I was pissing myself laughing the other day because I dropped my tone because I was tired, and like all this old stuff came at me from her, from a couple of other women, and I started laughing, going, "What the hell's going on here?" And then I realized, James, what you've done is you dropped your tone. So I just had to isolate, go back, recenter, choose how I want to be, and therefore how I want to engage with my feminine. And like all of a sudden, she's right there again. It's like, it's just crazy. But it just demonstrated to me like that I like the childlike nature of how I'm dealing with things at the moment. Like not childish, but childlike, because and I say kindergarten, my wonder and awe are like on amped. They're amped. They're like maximum volume. And because every turn, I know, and I realize I know a lot of stuff. I'm not just playing, discounting myself, my knowledge, my wisdom. But as you know, I've always read, the more you know, the less you realize you know. And I'm now living that, which is actually fun. Like I'm actually having a bit of, I've been tired, but I'm having a bit of fun. And I'm remembering not to take myself seriously anymore.
Isn't that the truth? Couple of things. Just reflect on the experience Morgan and I have had for the last 3 months, first 3 months of the year after solstice, right? Um, is that the time frame this was all happening? The past like January, February into March?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, my other
Yeah.
comment is, and vice versa. Because there's another perspective that sees it exactly like you said, but it's opposite.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Mm.
It's been a different type of, um, you mentioned the word isolation. I feel for both parties, and I can't speak for the feminine in form, but it's been a different type of isolation.
Mm.
It's not, merited by the number of days or weeks. It was a space that we had to um, ultimately uh, experience and be within ourselves to meet in that place that you're talking about um, with her or with whoever, with yourself, really. Have you felt that? Did you feel lonely?
Before I went into isolation, I thought I saw it so clearly. And then it didn't work out as I thought. And so then I went into a bit of confusion, but then I realized I was reading the signs wrong. And I let my ego at time accidentally, I didn't even see it. Like I was working really refinedly to keep myself in check, but then I realized I didn't see that component of it. So um, all of a sudden it's like, you know what, we don't think alike. We don't necessarily want the same things. You want the beach. I love the hills, the bush. Um, all the differences came out and they came out really thick and fast. And that was at one point that was like almost overwhelming how much like the differences just came. And like you see my faults, whereas I now choose not to be seen as wounded by the feminine. Blah blah and all this stuff. And knowing that that's all reflected back at me. Like I was seeing her faults more than I'd ever seen before as well. And I actually asked myself, am I always loved this woman because of our time together and the fact that, we've gifted the world two amazing young women together. But am I actually like is my soul contract over with her now? Like, am I, well, I love her just because of what we've done, not because of what's to come. And so therefore, am I in love with her anymore as well? And so I went through all this. But interestingly enough, like the deeper I went into it and the more it started to come, the solider I actually started to come inside and I started to smile. And for the first time in my life, like I was making decisions for me, not for my parents, not for the military, not for my family. It was, James, you can walk out of this house right now. And I was actually thinking about moving out. But then I realized if I moved out, then in all probability I wouldn't come back. And I looked and I checked to myself with that, and I've gone, cool. That's what am I committing to? Like I'm actually committing to myself. So right now, my spot to be is here, and then make that decision. And then a couple of conversations happen, and all of a sudden, in a flash, I started to see her again, but differently. And the old knowing that we're meant to be together came back, but I saw that there had to be a death and that death was fundamental and it had to be all inclusive. And it literally, if we didn't come out of the death, then we weren't meant to. And like so the complete unraveling happened. And then it was then my time to set right and actually right. But is it right? What do you want? And get really, really clear on owning me and in every moment choosing what I want, knowing that what I want is so often mirrored and meshed by Kirsty wants to go to the beach. Well, I just want to be with Kirsty, but she says, "Do you actually want to go to the beach?" So I don't care where we go because I actually just want to be with you. We could be in hell and I could be having a hoot because I'm actually with you. And 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 then she comes back, but you don't like the beach. It's not that I don't like them. I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah.
And it used to be that I didn't like the beach, but she said, "You don't like the beach." Woman, hear me. I want to fucking be with you. So in this moment, I'm going to be with you. Let's just go. Instead of like allowing for the second guessing to come because I didn't realize that service is a massive principle of my life. But in service, one of the shadows is subjugation. And in so many times, I'd subjugated my desire to accommodate or to whatever, which leads to a compromise. And it was in there, all these little subtle things. But you know what? You get a wad of subtlety and it builds into something quite tangible. And that's, that was the death just had to be like really, really done in a masculine way. It was like, the axe came down, the executioner's axe came down on top. And so, I could say we've only been together less than a month.
I get that. Um, it sounds like, and I'm saying this from the masculine part of me that can relate to part of what you're saying is like to rationalize sacrifice wasn't going to work anymore. It's not going to work anymore. Um, I wrote something yesterday. I think it was something like the unconscious programs he had were directly related to the weight of the construct, the matrix, being upheld. Now he's free to create the dreams, her dreams. So when I listen to you, I've always been able to relate. It's been a long time.
I get that. That's beautiful. What I've done is sacrifice, used to come at me, having a Christian upbringing, dad being a priest and stuff like this. And for the first 18 years of my life, trying to find my divine connection in a building, which was very cold generally in so many ways that no one really understood the symbology or the architecture or anything else like that, or even sometimes the words that were spoken. But that aside, never found him there, funnily enough. And like sacrifice was always mentioned. And I was reading this amazing book called Meditations of Tarot by an unknown author, and it's like basically the whole premise of the book is to demonstrate to Catholicism that Hermeticism actually aligns if they actually understood the deep genesis of both belief systems. And obviously, Hermeticism predates Catholicism, but one of the things that he talks about is sacrifice being to bring back the sacred and to bring in essence the way I now read sacrifice is to bring back the sacred fire. So the sacrifice is to put to the fire that which one has for it to use the alchemical term to go through the alchemical burn to purify. And that actually it sits in me, it doesn't come upon me. It's like now I actually have a devotion to sacrifice in that way, as opposed to you sacrifice. The way the church taught it was you sacrifice this and you lose. That sacrifice means loss, but that's coming from a bunch of people who've forgotten what death is. So how can they talk about loss? Matter of fact, if you even go deeper, you look at the effigy of the cross, like Christ hanging on a cross, and that's what we see. He's gone like this, and he has what INR on top of him, and like people walk past and they slag him off, and they say, "Look at you! You think you're the bloody son of God, and you can't even get your ass off that cross. Who the hell are you?" And if you just took that moment in time and you just looked at it, which is funny because it's the icon, it's the the symbolism of the church so often is this slash moment in time. So they just look at powerlessness. Like the divine in that moment is completely powerless without context. Because you don't remember that 7 days beforehand he rode into, Jerusalem on the back of a donkey, getting celebrated with all the palm leaves put in front of him. He's completed 7 miracles. He's got all this incredible stuff. He's like triumphantly living as the Son of God slash the Son of Man. And then he's judged by his peers because Pontius Pilate just executes what the peers want. And so then he's put up on the cross to die. And then you don't get the postscript, which is, well, he ascends. Then all of it you're doing is you're just looking at this deadness, this powerlessness. And it's like, what I realized is context emerges, and the emergence of context or meaning is the divine speaking to me. And I can only have context or meaning emerge when I sit in stillness and I watch and I wait. And that's what I became. I was lying here paying a lot of money rent, like to just have this house, living on it's the smallest room in the house on a mattress, which is a clapped out old mattress. And I'm at night just about to go to sleep doing some Sudoku, and I'm laughing my head off, going like, how did I end up on a mattress in my own house, but the smallest room in the house, paying the rent, and here I am. Like, and
I
it
get
was,
that. Oh,
and then when this is when the emergence started to happen, and I started to see, like, started to remember context. It's like that snapshot. If you just look at it, it's just like, what the, what's going on? Without context, it like I can't get the meaning. So literally what's been happening is it's like the still moment has been allowing for the unfolding to happen in front of me. And that's bringing joy. But to say that I understand the unfolding is like completely, it's just ridiculous. Um, but what I'm more confident now about is the step, like the next step. And I've been called to task. A mate of mine called me to task yesterday on a bloody video call. He just went to town at me. He said, "Why are you doing podcasts for one or two people?" Which is not quite true, but it's just you need to get your ass out there, and it's true. It's a call to action. Um, and I've known it for some time, and it's a kick in the ball sack, and it came from this beautiful man who didn't know if he should have given it. I said, go for gold, mate." And I stood there or sat there with an open heart and received his critique, knowing that he loved me that much that he would actually put our friendship on the line to actually give me what he felt I needed. And I was going, that's that's epic. Epic that I've got a friendship, that I've been able to cultivate a friendship with a person who's willing to do that for me. That's like my gratitude last night. That was it.
especially a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might be able to relate to this. Fuck, what the hell am I saying? Um, like even with what you're talking about, and I'm seeing it, of course, from what I can resonate with or I can identify with as a man in form at this time and through all these years we've known each other and been together, all of us, with this crazy stuff happening, the way things are moving so fast. But um, what you talked about in terms of sacrifice, and I know I don't have it all like you, but being with Morgan, you being with Kirsty, I mean, there's certain advantages you have to that mirror that's so close, and you can start to get an inkling of what maybe is going on with them. But the sacrifice part, like when I wrote that yesterday about the masculine energy or awareness or whatever, what I was really saying was, I'm not going to be your fucking soldier anymore. Now, the problem with that is, I think you're kind of reflecting, is like, I don't know what to do from here. But I'm not doing that anymore.
Mm.
Um, but I would.
Mm.
I would, on the other side of it, enter that consciousness or field of sacrifice again in my essence, whether you want to say that's masculine or not, whatever, in order to show the faith and the love and the trust I have that what will be on the other side. In other words, you could say, I'm going to do it or die trying. Like, I know what I know, what I know.
Mm.
Um, and I and I feel like, and I think this comes through with you, not just now, but before,
Yeah.
my role in some weird way, and I can't explain it either, is action. It
Mm.
may not be perfect, it may not be right, but if she's with me, she
Mm.
being that part of me and those externals of me, certainly the first and foremost being Morgan, I can do this. Like, I
Mm.
don't have to watch my back. And at the same time, knowing that even though I can't understand it, she's coming into that same space, probably before me. Like, in other words, as a reflection goes, as they are the womb, that part of us is the womb, the feminine. It brings in, it brings in when they're safe, when they're secure, it brings in that new field to
Mm.
be ovulated or to ovulate and be seeded.
Yeah.
Um,
The way I way I describe it is like the masculine's the pole and he sets the tone. And from the tone, it sees the vertical, and the horizontal's the feminine. And from the tone which is set, the creation emanates out from. So that's why the masculine is both the pole and the space holder. And like he holds space by the container that he can set, but also by the pole that he can anchor. And like, lots of people get the container thing, like a man can stand back and really hold space for the woman to go through what she needs to do. So they get that, but they forget this point. The container still contains, and she might be needing to be contained at that moment. But if and I, I've never met Morgan in person, but I get the vibe of Morgan through our relationship that we've had online. That you try and contain that woman, and like you got another thing coming. It's like cursed. Like so, what we become is we become the pole that they launch out from, or they dance upon. That's what you look at pole dancing is one of it's such a beautiful analogy, I reckon, of life. Like it's amazing that, but if the pole's not strong, falls over, the woman crashes and hurts herself, doesn't she? But the thing is this, if he sets the tone here, then creation happens there. If he sets the tone here, creation happens here. And this is why, throwing the baby out with the bathwater about what used to happen in families and stuff like that. In the old days, days gone by, a man would sit at the head of the table. Behind him stood his king, and behind his king stood God. And that actually meant that the man knew these things were behind him and he felt connected to them, and therefore he was doing he was in service to them. And that flowed out around the dinner table, to which he sat at the head. Now it's a round dinner table, and there's no head, and there's no God, and there's no king. So, like, unbeknownst to the male, all this masculine energy is dumped on his shoulders. One, he doesn't understand it because previously the king understood what it was to be regal, and to make decisions for his land, etc. And the God knew how to be God. Now the man's like sitting there with all this masculine like dumped on him, and he doesn't have the understanding nor the capability to deal with it. And so, like, it actually in the psyche of a male turns it all to mush. And then you get the feminine revolution, which happened in the 60s, which needed to happen, but it happened in masculine energy. And it literally sent the pendulum swinging so far to the left. But the thing is, the law of polarity says if it goes left, it's going to go equal and opposite right. And so we've gone into this incredible period where women are masculine, women disempowered themselves by trying to cut the balls off men and basically led to a whole mixture of psychological aspects that meant that no one really understood who they were anymore. And they didn't have the ceremonial rituals which happened holding the energy. And so no one, not only did they didn't have the knowledge, but they didn't have the ceremony to hold the energy anymore. So everything went collapsing. It went into the amorphous blob. And actually, I firmly believe it needs to. And of course it needs to, because otherwise it wouldn't happen. So what's happening now is there's emergence, and emergence are both men and women in their masculine feminine mixture, whatever it is. They're emerging out of this quagmire. And what I love to remember is that after 512 cellular divisions, the embryo gets a hole in it, and the first hole it gets is actually your asshole. So quite regularly, the first to emerge are assholes.
Excuse
Um,
me? Is that a scientific fact?
that's
No
the
kidding.
scientific fact. Yeah, yeah,
Wow. So there's
yeah, yeah.
512
Cellular divisions,
okay. And
and
then the
then
asshole.
the asshole forms, and it
So we're all
actually
assholes first.
we're all assholes. But you get this, like a tube gets formed, and then at the top is the mouth, and that obviously becomes your digestive tract. But like in between, the heart is formed, and the heart starts beating in utero before the brain is actually comes online, and that's when it goes between be called an embryo towards a fetus. But the point is, your arms actually come out from your heart. That's where they're formed. And so hugs, we embrace, and actually our arms are just the epicenters of our love. So you actually go back to what your point about action is. If you're using your hands, anything but action that you love, you're actually misplacing the energy completely. Anyway, coming back to this point about emergence, um, it's now where this, like lots of people the old knowledge is now becoming more prevalent. The issue is that some people have grabbed the old knowledge and are not of the vibrational frequency to understand it, so they're misusing it. Tantra is a great example of that. And not all Tantra. I'm just saying that, the woke Tantra stuff that's going on. But that's okay. That'll clean, that'll purify, just like, water in a hose that's been in the sunlight. You need to keep the tap flowing for it to get the murky water out, but keep it flowing and cool water comes. So it's exactly the same as the process we're going through. And but the thing is that there's these really deep souls that are really now starting to emerge. And because of their tone, it's like, and everything else which is happening around, and they've been amplified, not just on the human form, but that's allowing for this newness to come. And like I just look at a fractal of that's what happened in my relationship. My whole relationship had to go sever and back into the darkness, back where it first came, to the point of infinite potentiality. And then it had to be reimagined and then come forth again from the dark, and come forward again. And that's, it's still, it's still happening. That process is still happening. And I just watched Kirst today. She's really tired. And I just helped her. I just helped her with shame. And like I was teaching her, like I wasn't teaching her, sorry, I was just with her, and we made love in shame. Like I said, I want you to give me all your shame. I want you to give it to me. I just show it to me all. And we just had this beautiful connective experience making love in shame. And at the end just held, and it's just really, I'm actually almost tearing now, just remembering the experience. Um, and just being there together and just saying, like, this is the new, and the new is everything about you is loved, everything, and and just let it all come and into its natural new form. And that's what, I humbly believe the reason why I don't believe in what I've seen, and I've been doing between our last chats, been doing a lot of work with some Indigenous elders here, some Aboriginal elders, and they've shown me so much. And they've shown me that most elders on the planet were actually executed 90 years ago. There was a massive, like, culling that happened. And so a lot of the elders which put their hand up at the moment aren't elders. They're people that are really trying their best, but at times they're not coming from the purest of elder place. Um, and working with these people, it's like, I used to think that I was stepping into elderhood, but I realized in all humility how far I am from where they are. These people know their elders back 32 generations and all the totems that every one of them had, both maternal and paternal. They're just that deeply connected. But what this work has shown me is there isn't actually anything that we would call evil. Like, evil doesn't actually exist. It's a perception. And in the perception, so often evil is then self-generated. It's generated by the observer. And anyone who's done anything in like counseling and that type of thing will remember the trilogy, which is the victim, the victimizer, and the rescuer. And the victim doesn't actually emerge, and the victimizer doesn't emerge until the rescuer comes on and provides context to the trilogy. And what I've been witnessing with this deep work is that the any evil is actually energy that is out of place and then has been fueled, turned up, and amplified by the observation of other people in its out of place form. And generally, I have to say, every single time that we've done the work, I would say generally, because I can't say every single time we've done the work is every single time, but every single time we've done the work, give the evil given a moment in time where it's completely looked on through zero judgment, like complete acceptance and curiosity. And I don't mean love necessarily. I mean acceptance and curiosity, with love sitting back here. But at times, like, I couldn't say that we stood there in love. It stood there with a blank canvas, realistically. And given the option for it to go back to its source point, and also speak, it would explain its out of context nature. And then it actually is every single time it's chosen to go back through the portal and back to its actual It's whatever you want to call it, timeline, dimensional reality. It doesn't matter. It's all roughly the same thing. And Cyclone Alfred was a great example of that. Cyclone Alfred was a what they would call a semi-ancient that was ignited by people that know how to ignite that type of stuff. And the energy of it was an ancient energy, but he was convinced that by these things that he was awoken because of human consciousness needed to be acted upon. And the way he was instructed to, or they didn't need to instruct because of the way they know how to manipulate, but they set the scene that he needed to use destructive force. And there's now so many awakened people up the east coast of Australia that actually combine together. And some of our work, what we did is Alfred was facing down and being destructive. We just stood there and allowed Alfred to see that if you use destruction on human consciousness, this is what happens. It goes down. If you use love in human consciousness, it goes up. And so he says, show me love. And I kid you not, that day we saw this social media Facebook post come with this young lady who's got a massive dark feminine by just watching their TV interview because she got on national news with this. They got it one of those leaf blowers, the leaf blowers that you blow your backyard with to get rid, and they're all facing east towards Alfred with these leaf blowers, and they're blowing Alfred, and they're saying they're blowing Alfred away. And she's on national news, and she says, "Yeah, and our plan B, if the blowing doesn't work, we'll suck Alfred." And she knows exactly what she's doing. It sent the host into hysteria. But if it you and there was a lot of like I could feel the trauma of natural consequences, like natural episodes at the moment. There's in Australia, there's so it's possibly the same over there. Be interested to hear your point. But there's so much pressure being put in our psyche about natural disasters, and they're feared a lot. And I watched the fear here and so, but then all this other stuff started to happen, and Alfred basically turned into a major rain depression. A lot of wind, like we're actually right where he came on board. A lot of wind, but and some people had a lot of damage. I understand that, but most of it was just water.
And then we're back to the chicken and the egg. Did we do that, or is it beyond our control? But I'm with the former.
Exactly.
So, like, even with what you're talking about in your own personal journey and that which you have talked about in your connection with Kirsty, um, during this time, January, February, March, um, was there any anything to the possibility or thought that these 3 months were a synopsis or a summary of your life and or your relationship with Kirsty?
Yeah, totally. They started with it all started with Kirsty going on that Vipassana, the 10-day silent meditation retreat. Where you go into noble silence. We both did it way back over 10 years ago now, but we're coming back from my mother's place after Christmas. I'd gone down there. Mum hadn't been well. We got her back on the property on a block, and I did a lot of manual work. I actually signed out of everything, and I just focused on manual work, getting this place back up, getting my mum, back on, her 13 acres of property. And so did that and driving out. And actually, Kirsty, that's when she seated, do you think we should come back here? And I said, hell no. Um, my job's done and dusted. So I jumped in the car and come back and like we're 6 hours out from getting home. She says, I think I need to go away. Okay, awesome. What do you want to do? She says, oh, I think I need to go on Vipassana. Cool. When? Wednesday. It's like now Sunday. It's like, righto, let's make it happen. So anyway, moved things around, got her deposited up there, and then she went silent. I went deep into my work, and then we reconnected, and it was like a whole. I thought I saw the path. She thought she saw the path. Funny enough, they were like and that was because the crash. They were ignited incorrectly, and the crash needed to happen because we're still trying to. We're, we're trying to bring the new reality form through the old system. And that just doesn't work. Anyone who knows anything about systems knows that that just doesn't work. So it literally had to be boom, like blow the whole thing up. And I remember literally she sent me an energetic Facebook Messenger divorce letter. I am energetically divorcing her. And I was out doing a pack march in the bush, and I get this, and like I felt free. It was like I felt so much love for her. I felt, wow, that's so beautiful. I knew she was in pain, and it was like, wow, yeah. And then it was 2 days later that this is all in January. 2 days later when it hit me, and like I went through my grieving process, and I cried to her. And I cried and I said, yeah, I'm now really letting you go. And I just really thank you. And I'm letting you go. And that started the whole separation process. And we needed to incubate for a month. Um, and to go through that process and to hold firm, like, what are you doing? Are you here? Are you there? Where are you going? And it was just like, smile.
That was February.
That was February and into the start of March. It was 2 weeks. It was mid-March that we came back together because she turned 50 this on the 27th. And for a period there, I didn't even know if after 26 years being with her together, like over half her life, I didn't even know if I was actually going to be welcome at a 50th. So I was like, oh, hi. Yeah, I could understand why you wouldn't want me there. Okay, no dramas. And then 2 weeks later, we're having a 50th, and like it's just an amazing, beautiful celebration, Not big, just just really beautiful.
Wow. Do you think that this is probably a dumb question, but do you feel that there were certain perceptions, overlays of the feminine that you had to see, and I guess vice versa? Um, and is that kind of question or conversation irrelevant now, in regard to, let's just say, the connection you have with your feminine within yourself and your partner? In other words, is 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 it more understood and less explained, the kind of atmosphere? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the simple answer that comes is yes to your question. Um, I suppose the with the yes comes the following situation. 3 days after we said, like I said, I want you, and she said, I want you. Then 3 days after, I'm sitting at the kitchen table. She'd been out in the morning. The dark masculine is massive in me, like massive, huge. And dark masculine obviously has a lot of sexual energy around it as well. Anyway, she's come back in, and I've stood up as she's entered to say good day, and she has just come straight over on top of me and like gave me a deep, passionate kiss. And the thing is, she'd never done that before. And I've been in my dark masculine for quite some time, a number of years now. Um, he's birthed, about a couple of years ago. But she'd never actually immediately seen and then met that energy. And it just like after she kissed me, I stood back and I acknowledged it with my eyes, but later on that day, I made a point of going, I want to acknowledge that you entered the room and you felt and saw me before anything else, and you engaged me at that level. That's never happened before. And I don't know if you heard that, but that's just a young boy with a motorcycle that he's taken the muffler off so he can sound cool. But that's all right. He just needs an initiation. The um, you've never done that before, and I just really want to acknowledge that in you. And it was this mutual agreement. And for some time, what we've been talking about is my relationship with my new feminine. This is how I say it. My relationship with my new feminine is, and I will talk, and I'm expressing myself as to how I'm now creating. And all I'm doing is like I'm just openly communicating like everything there, the stuff that even I didn't even realize that was there that I'd just taken for granted so long, or I just thought, okay, that'll never come out, and so I stuck it down so deep that even 15 years of working on myself very, very deeply, just pulling out like trunk after trunk, just going. I even called myself a chump the other day too. I said, I've got to apologize for being an absolute chump because I realized I defaulted to you in this, and this. And that, no, it doesn't happen, you know. So yeah, it's funny.
Don't feel like the Lone Ranger.
I don't know who should call these. I think I'll call myself Tonto. You can be the Lone Ranger.
No, man, you're white. You have to be the Lone Ranger. I'm Tonto. Um, God, wow. I had a really good question. So this place that you have come to know in within yourself, this equilibrium, this meeting place of your feminine, your masculine, and also the way it plays out with her.
Mm,
It's very new, and we can relate to this. Okay.
mm,
Do you have any idea how it works? Because obviously there's some level of innate, instinctive um, creation,
mm,
right? To bring those two together and create something. I don't think anyone has the answer this early in the game, but I'm just wondering from your perspective and having done this in a way that I'm doing it, which is with another, which is with a true physical mirror, which you
mm,
know and I know and the girls know that ain't no easy ride. Uh, but have you do you see it? Is it what is
mm,
this? Is it we're just supposed to show up every day? Part of what you're saying I can relate to as a man, and I think it probably works the same way with our feminine, and that is I never knew um, how much I shut down myself in
mm,
order to not create anything.
mm,
I've heard her say, the feminine, and my partner, my wife, uh, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to upset the apple cart. Let's put it that way. But I didn't realize myself what I was holding back, what I was suppressing or silencing, which wasn't anyone's fault, certainly not hers or society or the government or religion or whatever, but really, um, I never realized that. And that's part of what I've come to understand, or I'm starting to understand, is that we're both coming from the same place.
mm, mm,
Like, I want to hear your voice.
mm,
What is your voice?
mm,
And as well as my own. Like to
mm,
be able and of course voice is metaphorical, not just the voice, but whatever the expression is of inspiration of conveying love, I guess, one way or the other, things that we share from a vulnerable, transparent state, uh, and uh, and not feel, um, not feel the influence of being embarrassed or self-conscious, but actually to reach a point with another individual
mm,
where you can actually share what you would share with yourself in a room with the door closed all by yourself, right? I mean, like a part of you, a song, a dance, a thought, a dream, a desire, a fear, a trauma, whatever it may be. It's
mm,
a really incredible place, but it's a weird place.
mm,
Almost like how do we talk to each other? But at the
mm.
same time, there's this above telepathy happening. Like, oh my God, do you feel this?
So
Do you,
it's like they already know. So if you don't talk about it, they already know. So you need to talk about it. And this is, I really feel this is what's happening is those that are feeling like this at the moment, those of us that are like this, we've actually been birthed out of shame. And like those of us that have gone into the shame cave and not killed shame, not you don't shame is say I'm actually in love with shame right now. It's just cursed like this morning. I'm so in love with shame. I think I might write a poem or something about it. Um, because she like the first interaction with it was I sat on a park bench and she just shuffled to the other side of the park bench. She didn't want to be near me. And like I just sat there for some time. This process took months. And then finally, I could move closer and closer and closer and then strike up a conversation and then ask questions, and if I asked a question that was too pointed, she'd just disappear like mist. And I go, "Where's the emotion gone? Like where?" And take that time of interestingly enough building trust. Shame's a social emotion, so trust is fundamental with it. In like, if you have self-trust issues, it's because you harbor so much shame. If you have self-accountability issues, it's because you haven't, lassoed your shame swan. I call it swan now because that's the imagery that came to me in my work. She started off as a deep dragon and then just became this beautiful white swan that I got swept up and taken off out of the cave on the back of. She's got so many rich messages to me, and she is the one that holds me accountable to my inner compass. Like she knows my soul contract better than anyone or anything. She knows my principles and my values better than me, like in my conscious form. She is the one that will bitch slap me or kick me in the balls if I step off. And she's the one that would sit with me and like muddle my mind or grab my throat or shy me away in a room that you talk about where I didn't want to express because of the undealt with issue. And and now I look at it. This is why, like healing, I look at very differently now. I think what we've become is we've been wedded to healing. And so what happens is we're in this healing, a lot of people are in this healing loop. And so they not only heal, but then they look for the next thing to heal and the next wound to heal. And it's this self-perpetuating loop instead of the spiral, which actually is evolution, not growth, because growth is one way. Like evolution has both death and birth, death and rebirth constantly. And then if you put that context of healing and go back to this emergence that I talked about before, healing becomes part of the beautiful divine evolutionary cycle. And in that moment, like shame has to walk in and give me a message, give me this beautiful gift. And every time it's like my heart opens even more and even more and even more until I get above the threshold of suppression, where like now, if you now I'm really starting to sit there and I know telepathy will work so much better when my emotional centers are clear. If my emotional centers are populated by toxic emotion, things that come through will be tainted by this perspective of that suppressed emotion. And so when I speak, I'll be speaking through the emotion as opposed to now, like with to go back to how you're seeing Morgan, how I'm seeing Kirst, it's like seeing through, and they talk about the veil and everything,
Hmm.
Maya, the veil of Isis. It's just like it's just dropped, and it's like you smile because and there's this cheekiness which has come back into our relationship that we haven't had for years, and like I hold myself accountable for that because I'm a cheeky bugger, like I'm a irreverently reverend motherfucker, and 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 so, if I want my relationship has to reflect who I am. And for so long, my relationship, like for a couple of years there, my relationship was not reflecting truly who I was.
Right.
Now, it's that? Put my hand up there, man. So yeah, but I'm very willing to then go back to kindergarten tomorrow.
Does that mean we're in nursery school today?
Oh,
We have nursery school before kindergarten over here. Um,
right. Hey, I got something for you.
yeah,
We
go ahead.
talked a lot about the military and days gone by. I got a big a drop the other day. Because in my dreams, like I still have quite a lot of military influence, and so I just stepped out of like reading the dream for a bit, and just went to like step back a few stages and went, what is it? It came really crashing in. It's like in my soul, I have a deep connection to the profession of arms, but I realized the profession of arms is different to the military. The military is the system in which the profession of arms now expresses itself. In my humble opinion, what's happened is the military and the profession of arms, they're actually now separate and they don't necessarily know it. There are people in the military who still hold the profession of arms, but there's most in the military don't remember the truest of profession of arms as it was in the beginning and always will be. And because some, I don't know how many times I get asked, man, if the call was made and you were asked to join up again, would you do it? And for a while I danced around the conversation, but there was always part of me that was going yes in the back of my mind. I go, why? Like, why? I don't gel with war. I know so much about war is now. I mean, what is it? Why would I say yes? And I got it the other day. It's because my soul is like soul's expression is very much aligned to the profession of arms. So if I was called, and I've done a lot of work back, especially with the elders, back into galactic wars, etc., where I've been in the past. Um, and it always just come to this point. It's like the profession of arms is there. Go back to your point about, the way I'd express it is, would I take a bullet for Kirsty? And the simple answer is yes. But at the same time, there has to be like there will be an inner knowing if I'm in that situation, I need to take the bullet or not, because it might actually be that I'm not meant to take the bullet, and
Sure.
that's even harder to comprehend, especially for someone who would naturally lay down their life.
Yeah.
What happens if you're not meant to lay down your life? What happens if you're meant to be the one who lives?
Yeah.
Go to survival. I've helped so many veterans, in particular with survivor guilt. They survived, their mates didn't, you know.
Yeah. That's rough. I mean, that would be rough. Um,
Anyway, I thought I'd dump all that on you.
no, no, I think I'm getting what you're saying about this, and I'm going to say it like this, like the energy, like from the human perspective, myth, looking through the mythos, the symbology of the armor. Like, I don't have the answer. I've just told Morgan 2 or 3 nights ago in session. How does it look? How do I look with my balls cut off? Because that's exactly where I'm at. I'm like standing in the space going, I'm still a fucking man. Like there's something that won't die that's, still there. And thinking about what you said, like what, not the threat, but simply the reality and the presence of that armor. Like you might say the armor of God. Like it's hard to explain, but what I mean is it's light, it's pure light. And maybe it's part of the light, the part of the characteristics of our masculine, but there is something to be said for that.
Mm,
That part of us can kick some fucking ass, but it doesn't have to.
exactly.
It doesn't have to. You know what I mean? It just, it always has been and will be. And if we, uh, you know, move away from that in the cycles of time and so on, of learning and expanding and growing as a soul or whatever, it's always there.
Mm,
It's truly there. And as a man who's been in much more of that theater than me, I mean, I was typical like teenager, fighting, sports, this and that, but to go into that part of the arena, the theater of that, as you and other brothers have, that's different for me. But what I do see is that something has been unplugged, and I think you talked about it a little bit, the distinction between uh, blindly going, hey,
mm,
are you going to go sign up again? Yes. Versus, wait a minute, let me think about this. Because if I am going to do it or not, it's my decision. So
mm,
something almost like we're unplugging is how I felt. My masculine or the masculine unplugging from the system, not shitting on the system, not, you know, throwing,
mm,
saying it's evil, like to your point earlier about there is no evil, but to say, you know what, thank you, but no more. I'm not your
mm.
fucking bitch. Okay. Seriously.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm not your bitch. And I don't know who I am in this new level of awareness, but I'm going to find out. And the one thing that keeps coming back, which I mentioned earlier, and I don't have the answer. I mean, I'm sitting here dog paddling in so many ways trying to survive, saying, okay, how do I get to the other side? Because there's something inherent and instinctive and innate within me as a man in form. It's just me. I'm not saying I'm right, but about myself. And that is, I've got to, it behooves everyone if I take conscious steps in action forth. May not be perfect, but it will give us some contrast as to what will and won't work. What is the center point? What is the that equilibrium? Because it's not where we came from, and it's not all this. You know, yeah, I'm blessed, but it's not all this stuff out here either. It's right here in the trenches, and you know, it's a bit frustrating. I told her last night, like I said, "Well, how would you feel if I said I want to leave? I'm tired of this." And what I meant by that was, okay, enough of the carrot on the stick, enough of
Mm,
all this, which takes you back, like the snake, eating its tail, to
mm,
wait a minute. It's not them. It's not the government. It's not this. It's not the galactic war. It's not any of that. It's me. It
mm.
really is me. And and that's pretty profound and pretty wild to think that from my thoughts I can change it all. But
Yeah.
evidently it is. Yeah.
And it's so funny how much I condition. I've worked with so many people, and it's become so obvious. I understand why reality has to occur now because it's such a beautiful mirror for me to understand myself at such a deep level. And people like it became very evident that you ask the question, "Who are you? Who am I?" And they got no idea. You ask them what do they want, and the initial statement are all these like symptom-based things, materialistic things, surface level stuff. And then you say, well, how can you give me an answer to what you want if you don't know who you are? And so we can take a step back and go through that. And I don't know how many times I've asked myself that question. It's such a beautiful question to just sit and ponder and reflect and dive back into. And every time I get a different answer, but the deeper and deeper I get, it's like then comes this thing, well, what do I want? And I don't know how many times Kirst would ask me, what do you want? And I would answer in relationship to someone or something else.
Mhm.
That was my default setting. And that's a habit. That's a psychological habit. And that came, I traced back to a childhood wound, obviously, where I was told that I couldn't get because like it was selfish to actually ask. And so therefore I needed to do what was best for the relation of everyone else in relation
Mhm.
to everyone else. And so that then started a habitual level of thinking that I don't even ask for what I want. I simply see the situation and I see what everyone else needs. And so therefore I do that. And now coming to this place where I'm getting two incredible women in my life at the age of 19 and 17. They've got life. They actually don't need me in their life. I'm just honored that they love me. And, we sit and we muck around. We went out, the three of us, my two daughters and myself, went out on a date the other night. It was really, really cool. And and I always ask the question, what do you see that I'm not seeing? I love opening that and give them a free for all on good old dad. And I'll tell you what, man, they got some insight. Um, and you got to have balls to turn up to that conversation, I decided. But anyway, so they don't need me. And Kirsten, she like to say she needs me in her life is ridiculous. If I was to leave, I don't actually know if she would find another male partner. Like, because she's so like she's so self-fulfilling, but so self-fulfilling. But where does that leave me, who had the need to be needed and all that other thing? I'm in service of the feminine, which I know I am, but there was still a shadow side, which actually, interestingly enough, came through my nobleman as the archetype. My nobleman was in so much shadow, and he was like justifying all this servitude, all this subjugation, all this placation, and like this severance that just came down like boom. It's like, dude, you can literally do anything. And the question is, well, what do I want? And then there was the void. There was silence. Because I finally got to ask a question, but I'd been so trained out of even answering the question, I'd forgot the question existed. Even though the question was always there in the periphery, talked about. I forgot the deepest level of what that question's truly asking me. And that four weeks of solitude, like it was like a reconnection to where that essence comes from. And, I've talked about it before. I've known it in myself before. The alignment of my personal will with divine will, and it's so easy to say the words, but how do I embody that? And in essence, I realized this goes back to sacrifice. For me, if I allow myself to truly own myself, like really own myself, then my expression, that footstep, will naturally be coming for a reason. Now, if I know the reason or not, it doesn't matter, but I'll know the footstep because it's my leg, my foot, and I'll feel it and I'll do it with conviction because that's the type of bloke I am. And I've really gone deep into devotion now too, um and understanding like what devotion truly is. Devotion is it's a masculine value. It provides form to the formless, because when you whatever devotion we do, devotional practices, and they're like the river bank that holds then the container for the flow of the energy to go through. So when you devote yourself to something, you're literally gifting your energy. So like I said to Kirsty, just be ready to be, I had some big energy here, babe. And if you want me in your life, this is coming your way, and have fun with it. And it's like, I really enjoy just even the kiss, like vectoring every single aspect of me, every single moment in time of me, every single thing to that connection of our two lips. And it's like my presence is becoming razor sharp now, and like I can feel like the I don't focus on her feeling, but I can, because I'm focusing on that point, but I can feel what that's doing just in that one moment of two lips kissing. And like that practical experience, which the mystic is always after. I mean, I've realized, I've been hunting as a mystic for so long, and it was right on my own bloody face. Tried to intellectualize it so well, but it's right there.
That was good. That was really good. That was like the perfect parable. It was powerful, very powerful, very powerful. I know that carried some serious masculine code, even if they don't understand. I don't understand it all. But I think that was well, that's part of what you said too. This is coming. I don't know what it is. It's going to be good. And as quick as you say that, or I say that, I'll speak for myself. Then I'm going back to humility, back to I don't know anything, back to baby steps.
Mm,
How do you do 4,000 video productions and then the first of the year on or about for whoever, right? Um, Comes and do 40 some odd shows, and every one of them you're nervous. There are parts of it you want to start crying. I do a spirit walk because my soul says, go do a spirit walk. You got to do this. I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this. Literally want to just start crying and hide under a rock. But there is something to it. There is something to it, and it does bring to the party. I feel that symbolic armoring, not in a bad way, not in a threatening way. It's just the structure. It's the strength. It's the power. It's the corners upholding it all. It's the pillars. And then you come out of that esoteric thought. Like, oh my God. Back to, okay, I'm a human. How's that going to help me? Well, show
I
up.
get a lot of your like I get a lot of listeners will be going like they'll kick back at the term armor, and I can understand that, because in my journey, like I was running around in armored vehicles. Like that was my military parlance for like my military career. I was the cavalry. I was running around in armored vehicles, and like I didn't just put 14 tons of armored vehicle between me and everyone else. I put then Kevlar on my face, on my chest and on my head, on my heart and my head. So I literally armored myself to the world. So I get that people push back at armor, but let's put it in a different context. Go to Neo and the end of the first Matrix movie when he puts his hand up because he sees Mr. Smith and what Mr. Smith is doing. He's firing all those rounds at him, but the rounds don't matter anymore. He just sees them. He sees them for what they are, and he sees the code. So he's now become the master who sees the code for which the projectile was sent, and he knows the source code. And so he deals with source. He doesn't deal with that. That's symptoms. He deals with source code now. And the army that I feel we're talking about is, cool. You can say armor of light or whatever you want to say. There's an essence, there's a deep truth to armor of light because light holds a certain frequency, and at that frequency, certain things are not picked up. When I came out of Medicine Circle in the outside Cottonwood, Arizona, and I think it's called the Sycamore Canyon, I went up, spent a couple of days in Sedona and doing some hiking, and then I went up to do the South Rim, and then I came back to Phoenix, and like I'd been 7 days pretty much on my own in meditation, including a medicine circle. It was like just really, really intense. I had this dude, Clay Miller. I hope he's still around. I'm going to look him up after this. He was just an amazing guy who just took me through this incredible process, just a wise one. Anyway, I came to Phoenix and I was parked next to the airport and I didn't realize where I'd got this motel. I went up to the lady. I just had this gut desire to have an American steak and a pitcher of beer. That's what I had in my head. That's the last meal I wanted in America. So I go to the lady who's behind the counter. She's German. She hardly speaks a word of English. And I'm going, I'm all right, but I'm like so spaced from my experience. And and she's not speaking the same language as me because she's saying everyone eats in here. And I'm going, okay, yeah, but I don't want to eat in. I want an American steakhouse experience. She says, well, no, most people just get pizza delivered here. This conversation goes for about 5 minutes. And she then goes, well, if you really want, there's a Mexican place down in the corner. So I go, no, that'll be great. Thanks. So I walk off down and I'm walking and I'm looking, there's a burnt out car that's still got flames coming from it. The next car, there's all these gang members that are sitting on the thingo and they're right outside the Mexican place. And the shop next to the Mexican place has been beaten up and windows broken and stuff like that. And I'm still bopping along, go in, and I order, I think it was a burrito. I'm really not too sure what it was that I attempted to consume, but it really did not sit well in my stomach. And I couldn't eat it all. And I going out, and all of a sudden my guts just went boom. And you know that moment in time where you realize you need a toilet and you need it really quickly? Yeah, yeah. And all of a sudden, like I've been zoned, and all of a sudden, zook. And now I see that there's a gang over there. I see there's a burning car going, and I really need the toilet. And I started to hoof. So I don't know what they thought, but this bloody weird looking Aussie just charges off bloody back to the hotel. But it was so funny. It was that ingesting that negativity, that ugly burrito that brought me, like shocked me back into a field. Whereas before I didn't see that. I literally
Hmm.
could have. Caroline Mice tells a story very similar in a riot that she went through, and some of her stuff she's done talked about. But it was literally I could have walked through gangland and nothing would have touched me until I chose to consume something of a lower vibration, and that meant that everything got brought down, like literally very quickly, brought down to
Yes, and on that note, the body seems to be speaking louder. It's
oh
like it's like coming in with its own voice. So yeah, man, this has been really cool. I'm really, really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate the fact that it was on the fly. Like I just Morgan took a nap, and I went outside and didn't even tell her I'd message you, and we talked for a couple of minutes, and boom, you came back. So and not, like from a not from a invasive standpoint, but just to try to pick up more energetic code from you, like in the present moment, real time. This is the real stuff. As an individual, as a couple, as a family, etc., whatever initiatives you're involved with, because I know you are in many ways, where do you go from here? What do you see in front of you? Do you know what it is? Can you feel it? Does it have any structure? What does it look like? What does the future look like?
And so that's such a beautiful question. And the answer is both I know and I don't know. Um, and what I'm realizing is I had a meeting the other day. I just talked about with these couple of guys, and I said, listen, this is what my soul's really called to. Like, I firmly believe every issue on the planet can be solved at a community level within a global context. But at the moment, community's not been resourced, and particularly they're not being resourced in the like in knowing ourselves and knowing that we can actually bond together. And when we bond together, holy cow, we're this fundamental thing. And our conversations are always at multiple levels, so you can feel what I'm saying when I mean that, when they bond together. And just in that conversation, just putting it on the table, then all of a sudden, other things are coming in, and like we're really reforming how we do that. And for Australia, particularly, sporting clubs are epicenters, but the thing is, they've gone foul. They've had a lot of cancer put into them, and they're often run by people that are far more egoic and don't realize that the positions they hold, they should be honor. There should be deep, deep honor, because they've got young men and women coming to them that a sporting club realistically is one of the only Western methodologies of initiation, and they ain't doing it right. Um, but that's, what I want to do is we want to help them actually cleanse themselves, purify themselves, and actually embed proper initiated practices back into it. So they rebirth what the sporting club is back into a backbone of their actual community. And we bring back community after, the last 4 years of many different agencies trying to dissolve community. But one of the key parts of that is we need men with a fucking backbone, and we need men with some kahunas to own their ball sack again and actually stand there and lead the way with women. And it's not in front of or behind, it's with. Like, we need women to do exactly the same in their own way, and dance together again, like the power of dance. And I don't just mean the actual physical dance, I mean the metaphoric and the emotional and everything like this. And we need to understand, like, cool, men for a long time have been feminized in this supposed revolution to try and find ourselves. It was natural, it had to happen. But like, men process a certain way, but at the same time, they get through a process real quick if they want to, and they can then stand strong. And they need to remember emotions. They need to become emotionally literate. Again, it needs to be rebirthed into them, but in a new way. It's like we can't forget that the old way had to die, and we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We grow from the experiences of the past, but the old had to die. And in a meditation I was doing with an elder, and this is the powerful elder that he is. We can ask the question, what did the Aboriginal consciousness of this land, Australia, I call it Australia, it's just the label, why did it attract the 200 odd years experience that it did? And we went back to a fire, an ancient fire. And what was happening at that time was the elders of the nation, I'll call it the nation because it's the group of people, they were teaching the old ways with rigidity, and the young people kicked back at it. And in kicking back, they actually aligned with some nefarious white people. And then what ensued was a lot of death and destruction. And the missionaries came in, but the missionaries didn't have the capability emotionally to actually help process the trauma. So the trauma seeped into the land, the blood spilt into the land, and the song was broken. And it's been broken for some time. And it cannot be healed by just black people, and it cannot be healed by just white people. It's a all race, color, creed healing process that happens, but it can't happen by lamenting in the actual trauma of the song or the trauma of the story. It goes deeper through the story to the old to realize that the ancients themselves had become clunky and rigid in the way they transmitted the message. And so therefore there was kickback. And so there's this new rebirthing. And I personally believe this country has a pivotal role to play in the next evolution of human consciousness because we have a moment in time where we can rewrite a narrative to actually step up and create something new from love, not from shame, guilt, fear, anger, sadness, and loss. Acknowledging that, not being ignorant of that, but at the same time not creating from that, allowing that to heal. And healing can happen instantaneously, but it can also never happen. So the choice is made by people with backbone to hold the space and bring back the rights to actually allow that to happen. And one of the things that I'm doing is this Man on the Rise program to help people, particularly do that, men particularly stand up. And it's really interesting that the Australian charities, there's six major charities that receive for mental health, and they've known the CEOs of those charities have known for some time that if they were to actually put all their energy, and I don't say that the charities have all the answers, but this is how the CEOs think and are told, and I'll just tell you a bit about it. If they were to focus on men's mental health, they would solve 80% of domestic issues. But they're not allowed to focus on it. Matter of fact, the Australian budget had zero allocation to it this year, and it's because it's not politically allowed. They're actually hamstrung, and they know that. My question is, where's the fucking spine in the CEO leadership that can stand up and go, no? And this is the calling. Like the calling is, like the dark feminine must come first. Kali must destroy, but the only thing that can bring Kali into balance is the dark masculine looking her back in the eye and looking her and honoring her, not giving her love, but fucking seeing her. And when she is seen by the dark masculine, that's when she melts back into her other form.
Mm, mm, mm.
Otherwise, she'll just keep cutting heads off because that's what she's pretty epic at. So yeah, and
Wow.
as a family, like I've got a daughter who's launching off and being her own thing, and she's changing a culture just by being her. I'm watching her do it. I'm watching her change literally a generation in a very hard knock place,
Wow.
just by being her. And it's just like I get tears in my eyes, man. She's so powerful, and just to know that all I need to do is to make sure I'm not in a way, but make sure that she knows that like I'm looking at her and she's right. She's got it. And I got another daughter who, she might be full of self-doubt every now and then, but she's like singing a new song, like, and she's starting to really own singing a new song, and she's a Taurus, so God help me if I stand in the way of her. Um, but yeah, so it's really, really beautiful.
My little one's a Taurus.
Is
May
that right?
8th. Yeah, May 8th.
Wow.
Hey, you mentioned just one last thing. I just want to, because this could be like a 5 hour show, I think. You mentioned in passing, well, you did, that you've been sitting with the elders and learning from the elders,
Mm,
right?
mm.
And I'm just curious because I know that could be a really, really, complex conversation with many, many streams to follow. But in your time with them, um, these last couple of years or whatever it's been, have they alluded to anything? I think I personally find it very profound that through that relationship, they explained to you what happened, as you explained a minute ago, in terms of, what happened when it became too rigid and so on. Do they, has it been your experience with them, you know, verbally or not? Do you feel like they have any bead on what's happening now, like maybe more than we do? Or is that just, uh, another example of we're actually all on the same playing field at the same level? Is there anything that they're seeing to your knowledge?
What I've picked up is their ability to be still is next level. It's like it's almost unfathomable. And a true elder doesn't give you the answer. Like a true elder can teach, and like there's a lot of teaching that goes on, and finding out about what happened to elders before, finding out where Australia actually emanated from, which is actually on our west coast. It actually emerged out of a west coast. So an introduction to the dreaming and the dream time, as these ones call it. Um, but one of the issues that I face is I still have a Western mind construct. And so the way that the elder works with me is There's interpretation there, but there's incredible amount of stillness and time and asking of questions and getting me to feel out from it. It's like if we've got a moment, like this story probably could take about 2 moments, like 2, 3 minutes. Is that all right? Oops, you're frozen. You're back on.
No, we're good. Good.
We're good.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You've just
Take
froze
your
my end.
time. Take your going. Take your time. Am I fading out? No, tell us the story. I want to hear it. Take your time.
So what I was shown is that we talked about the illusion of reality, and I've always been one who's been amazed by the stars and everything else like this. But what I saw, and an elder helps you see, and when I say see, I'm talking a five sensory experience, and they don't need plant medicine to do it. Um, is I saw the earth and it's like a skin. So this land is like a skin. And anything that's wrong on this land is like a pimple or the skin trying to get rid of stuff, like expel it. And if you just deal with the symptom on the top by putting a band-aid on it or like a dressing on it, it just will come up in another place. And they showed me how it all just goes back down through like in what interestingly enough, quantum physics is now looking at plasma and like the universe is weaved together by veins or you could neural pathways of plasma. Like it's just really quite fascinating what they now know. Like the void is not a void, it's completely full of plasma. And so from the skin of the earth, all these connections went all the way back to like what they call the center of existence. It could, you could say it's the Big Bang or whatever. It's the primordials, the ancients and stuff like that. When you heal here, it has a dramatic effect through that pipeline. And so it like the whole point about, you are as far as the universe goes, you are infinitesimally small. But then as far as an atom goes or an electron goes, you're infinitesimally large. That paradox, which, so many minds start to grapple with, the experience of actually being involved in this viewing, whatever you want to call it, was actually to show like how important even the only electron is. And I won't go into the fact that there's now a theory that there is actually only one electron. But anyway, that getting your head around that blows your mind. But the way they like to try and put one's head into this construct is almost I found it really hard. I'll just speak for myself. I found it really hard. And then so what he does particularly is he just waits and is just is with. And so you see and he's with you in the observing. It's like sitting with you and you're talking together. And then it comes to like doing work where we're healing certain things of the land, etc. And it's really fascinating because he goes like our Aboriginal nations in Australia are very, very fractured. There's a lot of pain still harbored, and a lot of it's been manipulated and used for other means and stuff like that. But he cuts through all that crap, and he goes, just feel the land, and I'll give you the nation's name, Gubby Gubby. Is Gubby Gubby here? Feel it. It's no. But the Aborigines of this the moment living here say they're gubby gubby. They're not gubby gubby. You can feel it. And I'm as wide as the background of the Ace of Spades, and it's like, okay, so now feel the land. And it's like go right up to this township of Mapleton, which is like some 20 kilometers to the north. You feel Mapleton. That's gubby gubby land. You can feel the difference. And what he's doing is it an elder is the mystic, like the mystics that we talk about. And that gets you to feel it and experience it. And then you can make your own, like, so they'll leave you to make your own decision. At the same time, they play with foresight and they play with lots of different things. But they got to remember the old magician's creed, and that is, the adept still wants to be the magician to change the world. The magician knows that they are the world. There's nothing to change.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean to say that a magician doesn't use their powers. Like this guy has, I looked into his eyes and we're talking about neutralizing stuff so it never existed in reality. And I know just by looking through his eyes that he can do that. And just like the powers that these people hold, they're ancient. They're ancient. And this,
Well,
yeah, I won't tell his story because it's not my place to do so. But
no, but like what goes back to what you were just saying,
yeah,
that somewhere, call it the Big Bang or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we're this uh, infinitesimal, fractal, but we have influence all the way back. So to to say there are mirrors or beings incarnated or not that can neutralize from the human perspective, is absolutely what you talked about, even in the sense of you know, instant change, instant transformation. Oh
I've been
wow.
sitting with your nation for a bit though, and interested in
Man.
your thoughts. Like, I've just
Hmm.
finished Black Elk Speaks, um, and the story of Black Elk, which I find such a fascinating story. I can't surmise it to give it any credit, but a young man gets a prophecy at the age of 9 from the six grandfathers about how his nations will have to go through 4 stages, and upon his deathbed, he goes to a very sacred place opposite one of the places where his talents came about. And he says to the six grandfathers, "I'm very sorry that I never did anything with it," which is not true. Like he became a medicine man, he did a lot of good work, but at the same time, he died lamenting that he didn't do justice or do honor to the gift or the prophecy that he was given by the grandfathers. And like his story is one of a lot of blood, internal within their own nations and the Wisichu, is it the Wisichu? One of the ways they say it, the white man. Um, and like I felt that in your land. And my question to you is like with the energy in the land and where you guys are now and what the definitive role that your epicenter in the globe is happening for the emergence of human consciousness. Like, how do you feel?
Man, that was out of left field. Good question. Thank
You
you.
keep asking me questions, and I'm going to throw them back at you.
Well, again, going back to something you can relate to. I mean, like being in this connection with Morgan for 10 years, you have polarities in all forms and fashion, right? And so my origin, you would say, came from the land, and my earliest memories being of Native American lives, right? Even to have spirit guides and so on and so on. Really deeply in the Lakota, right? So I had three different libraries from like 20, and I'd lose them, and personal libraries of books when I used to read a lot, and I always had 10 or 12 of them with me, and that was one of them. So I really, really, in fact, we watched a movie the other night and it really fucked me up because it was going into that part of it, going into what the Aborigines went through and so on. And we've all been there, done that, but there was something speaking to me, maybe it's to this moment, I don't know. But what it came around to was kind of what I asked you at the end there, which was, do they have any inkling of what's going to happen? So as I take that in and I respect where I've ended up by hook or by crook, by force or by flow, we end up here in this incredible place. Yes, from the 24 hours from the point that we got here, we went to a place. I did some rapé and had an experience. She said my eyes went black and I started to chant a sacred song. I could see many, many things. It was very, very moving. And I knew something was telling me something. And I see it as if for myself anyway, like Central America up into what is the US and even into Canada, all of these tribes. Um, and as we go back, and maybe in your way, even though you're as white as, as whatever you said, um, visiting with these elders, or being on the land, or having these experiences, it's kind of coming full circle. And I really feel like, and I don't know, I can only speak for my own situation, that somehow or another, my lineage or my essence or something, my blend between human and soul or something, as a male incarnate at this time in this relationship and connection with this woman, I'm bringing the organic, not for better or for worse, not to compare, but just this is my piece. And I see that galactic piece coming in. And I feel like there is some connection there. And in fact, we were just talking about this before I came on with you. And she was mentioning how so many of the indigenous have direct oral history to include the Aborigines, and many of the Native American tribes, Hopi, Cherokee, that they came from Pleiades. So for me, and there's other things that I've had in my life that kind of point to this, but to me, it feels like everything else, um, um, coming to the same place. Like, I could equate that to my relationship with Morgan. I can equate it to this more collective opinion that I have of what I'm feeling. Um, both sides of anything would make sense to be fully presented, heard, um, acknowledged, recognized, embraced, afforded. Um, how else can you merge? How else can two sides merge? Because that really seems to be the order at the end of the day. And I really was, um, you know, impressed with what you had to say about there's no evil. Um, and again, not right or wrong, but what's the difference between two sides of an issue?
Mm.
You want to call one good, one evil, or the other one evil and the other one good, or masculine, feminine, or so many other and all the other polarities. Um, so yeah, I have really strong feelings about the indigenous, and I found out I think about a year ago that um, 30% of my DNA is Native American, which didn't surprise me. Didn't surprise me, but yeah, I feel like there's a lot of emphasis has been placed, and it's okay, on the memories that we would come back into of a multidimensional and or galactic nature. But I also feel that the same holds true for the lineage of the human soul on Mother Earth, right? There's something really, really, really loud coming in, but just as loud are the Pleiadians, you know what I mean? It's like coming to the same place. And to be in the physical, um, and to be experiencing that even on one side, and seeing what I feel like I'm seeing. Uh, I mean, that to me is like the only reason, I won't say the only reason, but the level of potential experience and awareness, understanding, whatever that may hold and things like it, totally neutralized what I told Morgan last night. I was like, hey, how would you feel if I said I want to leave? The only thing that makes any sense to me is to see the utmost merging. of polarities, and to be able to to be able to see, like with you and Kirsty, we've been afforded something that's been pretty unique for us in that, oh my God, there's a couple that's actually gets what's going on, even if we don't talk about it. And now listening to you about the first 3 months of the year, oh my God, I could tell you. But yeah, but to be able to actually see the parallels and the ripples of the individual slash couple, let's just say, all the way out to the collective, and not just this literal timeline, linear timeline history, but all of it. And I feel like that's what we're pulling in. Um, you know, but I don't know anything. I appreciate the question because I guess my soul needed to reflect that. But yeah, I feel very strongly about it. And the strange thing is too, James, um, I had that in 2011, 2012. I mean, even into like 2014, a couple of times here and there, I might have a dimensional experience and these types of consciousnesses or energies or entities would come back and talk to me or whatever. But I haven't had it. I haven't had it until 24 hours after I arrived here. And we walked into a place, a metaphysical shop, and I did some rapé and boom. And it wasn't something that lingered and was with me every day, but it was something that went, hey, this was a. This is,
Mm.
so I feel like it's possible. It's it's why would anything be left out? So if it's masculine, feminine, galactic, organic, uh, whatever it may be, we're collecting all this code and information to make, and this is what really spoke to me with what you were saying, was to know who I am or we are because of the experience and the processes we've been through. To actually say, wait a minute, what do I think? What do I feel? And then to make a choice. And those choices um, being made together would lead to that community that you talk about and so many people have talked about over the years. I mean, the bottom line is we all want the same thing. We really do. And I did a little spirit walk a couple of days ago. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And it was basically maybe we're just being taken to a place where we say we've had enough. And by virtue of saying, I'm not participating in that, not in a rebellious way, not in a military, you know what I mean? Not in a, just saying, you know what? That's not my reality. And if it means someone's going to come and put a gun to my head and say, either conform or no, it's not my reality. I'm done. I feel like that's a very strong uh, pulsation from any soul. And I feel like that many of us can relate to the fact that, hey, man, I'm tired. This is work, not just for me, not just in my relationship, not just in my work. You know what I mean? The whole nine yards. There's many of us that are tired, but we're here. And well, we came this far. Might as well stick around, see what happens. It's really good seeing you, man.
You too,
Really
my
is.
brother.
Um, I missed you, and I really appreciate. You know, I think it's difficult. Um, it has been difficult for a man. You spoke to this earlier. To express himself because I told Morgan this for years and I mean it and I know it was true. I think it's changed now. It's beginning to. How can I tell you how I feel if I don't know myself? So there has been times when, and you're that one of those for me as a man, uh, that I've been able to just in a sound bite or a voice message or to be able to be free enough to go, hey man, I'm fucked.
I'm toast.
Yeah, and for you to which was really impressive, for you to not say anything but however that came through, like, a heart or, you know, just No judgment. No, let me fix it. No, just boom. Hey, so that's a something I'll always remember, and I appreciate it.
Love you, man.
I love you too, man. Blessing of grace to you and your beautiful beloved and your daughters and everything that you're doing. And I will see you again.
I
I'm
love that.
sure.